Hello YouTubers, and welcome to another Doctor Who action figure review. In today's review I'm going to be looking at the brand new, just released in the UK, Doctor Who The 13 Doctors Collection set, which is an exclusive to Toys R Us stores around the UK. Okay, so about this set, it's a massive set which was an exclusive to San Diego Comic-Con in the US back in July of this year. It's just basically a massive set with all the Doctors in it, like the 11 Doctors set which was released back in 2010. However, on this occasion we've got two new additions, which are the War Doctor and the 12th Doctor, but we've also got some lovely nice new variants and re-releases of previous figures already released. So in this video I'm going to split this review into 4 different parts because, you know, 13 Doctors, it is quite a big set to get through, so I'm not going to go through it all in one video. So in the first part I'm going to be talking about Doctors 1, 2, 3 and 4. In the second part I'll review Doctors 5, 6 and 7. In part 3, Doctors 8, War and 9. And then in the final part I'll review Doctors 10, 11, 12. So let's get the ball rolling and start off this review by looking at the first figure in this set, which is the first Doctor as seen in the William Hartnell adventure, The Web Planet. So this variation that we see on the first Doctor is from The Web Planet. The figure itself is the same figure as seen on other first Doctors previously. It's the same sculpt and is basically just a repaint. The noticeable differences you can see in the costume are the cravat, the waistcoat, the trousers, the shoes. The jacket as well. The jacket seems to be not black, but a sort of very dark brown, or something like that. It's sort of like a blackish brown sort of colour. But you still got the nice indications with the buttons on the jacket, like on the back, and the pockets and things. They've all been sculpted on. And they look, you know, really nice. The cravat is a creamy colour with grey lines added to them. The waistcoat is a sort of a brown mustard colour with this sort of checkered line thing going on, and the monocle's been sculpted on, as with other First Doctor figures. The trousers are a brown colour with light brown checks on them, which look really nice. The shoes are dark brown with white spats, very similar to the Seeds of Doom 4th Doctor figure that we got in the 11 Doctors set. Articulation, it's the same as the normal First Doctor figures, other First Doctor figures. The head can move 360 degrees, the arms move up and down and do a 360, biceps do 360s, elbows bend, hands do 360s, the waist does a 360, and there's articulation at the thighs, and the knees can bend as well. So yeah, that's all there really is to say about the costume. The head sculpt, it's a very nice likeness to William Hartnell, and I do like the paint applications that have been done to the figure. He does look very more neutral than on other figures, and of course the hair is painted grey, but with a light grey wash, and I do like the sort of the streaks in the hair. They sort of give off a nice authentic detailing. But yeah, apart from that, there's not really an awful lot to say. One thing I will say about this figure, though, out of all the figures that we were getting in the set, this was the one I was most excited. One of the figures I was most excited about getting, because it's so different to anything else that we've ever had before. And yeah, I do really like it a lot. It's a very nice addition to the set. So that's the first Doctor. Moving on to the second figure in this set, we have the second Doctor from the 6th Doctor story, The Two Doctors. Now, it's interesting that we've had two multi-Doctors sets and in both of those sets, neither of them have had a variation of the Second Doctor from his own stories. You know, we could have had, say, the cloak from the Highlanders and the Underwater Menace. We could have had the big fur coat from Abominable Snowmen, or his costume from Fury from Fury from the Deep with the woolly hat, something like that. But instead, we've got two Doctors variation, which is fine. You know, no major complaints from me about the choice of variation to release. And I suppose it's just easy, you know, just a quick repaint, and all you've got to do is make Patrick look older, which he was, very noticeably. And yeah, so, and hey presto, it's a very easy job. So I'm just going to very quickly talk about the differences in this particular variation of the Second Doctor. Well, first of all, let's start with the head sculpt. Now, the head sculpt, Patrick's looking a lot older in this story, quite noticeably from the Three Doctors when he came back in '73. It was only a few years after he left, and Patrick looked a little bit older, but not too much. But in '85, yeah, he was notably different in terms of how he looked. And obviously, the manufacturers of the people who make these figures obviously had to show that, and obviously they show that in the hair, in the bags under the eyes. It just makes him look a little bit older, because, you know, just it's nice to clearly show how Patrick has aged over the years. The shirt is sort of like a silver grey colour. The bow tie is black with dots. The handkerchief is very different. You've got a wild thing going on. It's like an orange. It's like a light orangey colour with lots of paisley patterns going on. The trousers are sort of like a greeny grey with grey checks going on around the sides and downward. The shoes are sort of brownish colour, and that's all really it. But it's a really nice clean paint, and it's the same articulation as on previous Second Doctor figures. Do I like it? Yes, in a way, but I'm not really sort of excited about this particular variant as I was, say, with the first Doctor. But, you know, oh, it's falling over. At least it's better than, say, the long piped hat. I know that some people want that, but he hardly ever wore this stupid thing, so I'm kind of glad that we didn't get that. Yeah, and of course, you know, it could also be arguably from the Five Doctors as well. But yeah, that's really it. Not really much to say about this figure, because it is basically just a re-release. So, that's the Second Doctor. Looking at the Third Doctor now, this variation of the Third Doctor, well, it's packaged and advertised as being from the Time Monster, which is incorrect, because the Third Doctor didn't wear a bow tie in that story. The jacket is correct. He did wear that sort of jacket in the Time Monster, but really, metaphorically speaking, me being pedantic, this is the Third Doctor from the Three Doctors and from the beginning of Planet of the Spiders, when he and the Brigadier go and see that show. So, I'll just very quickly go through the articulation. The head can move from side to side, and that's basically it. Arms do 360s, biceps do 360s, arms can bend, hands can move slightly, not too much articulation there, and there's not much articulation in the waist because it is still quite stiff. Legs, but the thighs can do a 360 and the arms can bend, and so on and so forth. Very quickly going into the detailing about this figure. The hair is done with it's painted white, but it's got some nice bits of light grey in there, just to show off. I dare say I'd probably say just to show off the youth of John's sort of hair. I mean, that may not be the right thing to say, but it's the best thing I can think of at this moment in time. It just basically captivates. It's nice that it captivates the sort of the light youthness of John's hair, which is a very weird thing to say about a toy, but there you go. The likeness, it's nice. It's probably may not be the best likeness to John Pertwee that they've ever done, but it's a lot better than other variations that I've got, and it's an improvement over the first Third Doctor that was released back in 2009. The jacket, it's a lovely orange colour, and I really like the fact that they've painted. Well, it's a shame really that they painted this on and not sculpted them. But these are meant to be like the buttons or the thing that connect the jacket together. Yeah, it is a shame that they've just painted these on and not sculpted them. But it is a really nice colour, and I do like the black outlinings that have been done. Obviously, it's not screen accurate because due to the nature. Oh, he's falling over as well. Due to the nature of the sculpt, yeah, we're never going to get an accurate representation of this costume. So we're just going to have to make the best of it. But it's really nice to see another version of the Third Doctor. And of course, the trousers are sort of a light darkish grey, and the shoes are black. Figure comes with an accessory with its sonic screwdriver, and this was something I forgot to mention about the first and second Doctors. They don't come with accessories, but then they don't really need to, because Hartnell didn't have a walking stick all the time, and Patrick didn't really have his recorder that much in the two Doctors, so that's by the by. And if you want to, you can always just add those accessories to them if you've got the other figures. But in terms of how the Third Doctor looks, yeah, I'm really pleased with this. I'm really pleased with this variation, and it is quite well. What also would have been nice, I suppose, is if they added the checkered cape. But no, it was the black cape with the blue, wasn't it? Within the three Doctors, I think it was. But it would have been nice to add a cloak. But that's my only sort of thing that I think, oh, that would have been better if kind of critique. But yeah, it's just really nice to see a different version of the Third Doctor available. Moving on to the final figure in this part of the video. Here we have the Fourth Doctor. It says it's from Logopolis, but really it's just a improved version of the season 18 costume. So what I mean by more improved is that if you just look at the paint applications on this figure, I mean, it might be a bit blurry. Maybe a bit blurry. Oh, there we go. It's much better now. It's in focus. The colours on the scarf and on the costume, they're a lot more improved than on the previous release, and they're much more accurate to what we see on screen. I think the thing that makes this figure for me is the head sculpt. Because Tom looks a lot different in Season 18 than he does in Season 12, because the curls are starting to go, hair's starting to grey, he's looking older, he's looking a bit more depressed because of all the changes. And on this figure, they've added sort of light greys to the hair, just to sort of show that he's aging. Because by the time we get to Logopolis, and Tom was just about to leave, it seemed to me like he really had enough and that he was ready to go. And he just looked really tired, and he just looked really tired throughout that whole story. But anyway, the articulation is quite stiff, but it's the same articulation on the previous figure. The shirt is not so much of a crispy white. It's more of a sort of a dark yellowish. No, not yellow. Maybe, yeah, sort of a. It looks dirtier. It's not so much of a clean white as on the other variation. If I just remove the scarf, just remove the scarf very quickly. The coat looks a lot darker, and the buttons have been painted. Black, and of course he comes with his Sonic. And these are the boots. Yeah, you got the boots and all that, and all that jazz. So other than some slightly retweaked and repaints, this is basically just a repolished version of This is a polished version of the Season 18 4th Doctor figure, and yeah, it's probably the better variation that we're going to get of this particular costume. Although personally, originally I think this was going to be from the Leisure Hive, and Tom was going to have his hat, but for some reason that didn't happen. It would have been nice to see a Season 18 4th Doctor with a hat, but I don't think that's ever going to happen really. It's not really sort of worth the trouble to add a hat, and I don't think they will, so there you go. But the whole point of this 4th Doctor is that it's a more polished version of the Season 18 costume, and if you don't have the Season 18 costume from before, then you may want to try and track this figure down, and it's for the and it'll be for the better really, because it's more accurate to what you see on screen. So that's the 4th Doctor.